I thought I'd do something a little different today and actually talk to you about three cameras that I really like shooting with and give you some reasons why. So it's not really going to be a full camera review like I usually do. It's going to be more about why I like these cameras. So I guess to start off, I consider myself a photographer first of all, but beside that I actually really like film cameras. I think the reason why is because it gives me a little bit of a hands-on approach. Digital is sometimes just too quick and results are almost sometimes too nice or too perfect. I think analog sometimes provides me with a little bit of that, I don't know, unexpected or unusual or imperfect, which, especially if you're dealing with art photography, in my opinion anyway, is sometimes better or more interesting to me at least. So keep in mind, everything I'm going to say in this video is subjective opinion. It's just my thoughts. So you might disagree with me, but if you have some thoughts or ideas or different approach, or if you don't like something that I said, or if you do like it, please feel free to comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. I feel like film community is a great place to be and hang out and talk to each other about stuff. So, okay. So I guess before I even show you any cameras, I just want to talk a little bit about what makes it that I like some and I don't like the others. Basically, it comes down to how I feel and how comfortable I am while I'm shooting, especially travel photography and street photography, because a lot of times in those situations there really isn't a lot of time to fiddle with different settings and try to make things work and whatever else. So I think when I do it with these various cameras, I get a different feel from them. And so there's been some film cameras that I've had where I really liked how they looked. I even sometimes feel like how they feel, but when I take them in a field, it just doesn't feel right. Weight is sometimes an issue as well. If you hold the camera for 5 minutes, it feels great, but if you're holding it for 2-3 hours or having it hanging around your neck or on your side, it starts to be a pain. So the first one I want to talk about is this little Olympus XA. Olympus introduced these, I believe, in the late 70s, and they were quite a little marvel at the time, and I still think they are. I think one of the coolest thing about this camera for me is the fact that it is so portable. I can easily put it in my pocket and carry it around with me. I was recently on a trip to China and I took this with me, and it was really easy to shoot with. Secondly, I think the reason why I like it is because people don't always think of you as some sort of a great photographer when you're carrying one of these around, so it does give you a little bit more freedom to operate, if you will, or take pictures without a lot of people worrying about what are you doing and that kind of stuff. I think when it comes to cameras that I like, one of the key things for me is aperture priority, because it gives me a certain level of artistic freedom, meaning depth of field and how much I want to blur the background. And I let the camera pick the shutter speeds, but I do want to be aware of what the shutter speed is. So if a camera has aperture priority but I can't tell what shutter speed it's going to fire off at, that's a problem. XA is pretty good at that, because when you look through in the side here, which would be the left side of the viewfinder, you can actually see the shutter speed with a little needle that changes depending on what you sense your apertures to, and apertures are set by sliding this up and down. So that works for me. I usually know, based on the amount of light and film that I have in the camera, basically where I need to be. So for general photography, I like to be at f11 or f16 if it's sunny outside. If it's darker, I'll take it down to f4 or f5.6, and then you just go from there. This is a camera that has a full rangefinder function, meaning you can set the focus on it. However, what I like about it, because it is a 35mm lens, that you oftentimes don't actually have to do that. If you know about zone focusing, oftentimes you can set it to 4 feet or 8 feet or somewhere thereabouts and just let it be. For street photography, a lot of times you might be somewhere in between 6 feet to 15 feet from your subject, and if you just set it at 8 feet at 5.6 with, like, say 400 film or something, you're going to be perfectly fine. So basically it's quick to take a picture. Also, I don't know how well you can hear it, but you can't hear the shutter very much, which is also great for street photography because people can't quite hear that you've taken their picture, and so it can be a little bit more of a candid situation. What kills it though is when you do this to wind to the next frame. However, you don't have to do that right in front of the person when you took their picture. So anyway, you close it, you put it away, it protects the lens. Awesome camera. It goes for about $150 to $200 on eBay, so I think it's a great buy. A couple other things maybe. It takes LR44, SR44 batteries, which are easily obtainable today, so that makes it easy. And also, you have a quick battery check here that you can do, and you can do a plus 1.5 exposure adjustment down at the bottom in case you want to expose for your shadows. Anyway, great cam. Next one I'm going to talk about is a Contax 167 MT camera. I actually have a Contax RX, and even though the body in many ways is superior, when I hold it for like 15-20 minutes, it's great, but if I go around shooting with it, it starts to hurt me, and ultimately it fails for me for that reason. However, this one seems to have about the right amount of feel for me, and it has this really good Carl Zeiss Planar 50mm 1.7 lens. I've taken some great contrasty pictures with this lens, and it does allow me to shoot in aperture priority mode. Like I said, that's important to me. And if you have the MM or MMJ lenses that basically for the last or smallest aperture, if they have a green on them, that means that they're actually capable of shooting in program mode and shutter priority. So you can get all three with this, which is great if you want to even have more creative freedom with this camera. The shutter sounds okay. It's not super loud, considering that this has a built-in motor drive that pulls things forward for you. It's not that loud in my opinion. You do burn through film faster when you don't have to wind every time. I don't know why that is, it just is. So that's one thing to be aware of. You also can go in a continuous mode. It's not super fast, but hey, it's better than having to wind every time, right? One thing I do hate about it is when you look inside the LCD screen that shows you what settings you're shooting at is a little tiny thing up above the viewfinder, and somehow I've had two of them, both of them the same way. The viewfinder is too high up, or the optics are not quite aligned, so you kind of see about 90% of it, not the whole thing. It's a little annoying, not too annoying. Thankfully though, this LCD on top left side is also reading out apertures or shutter speeds or whatever you have it set on, and it's metering continually through the lens, meaning you can actually see what your settings and shutter are going to be before you put the camera to the eye. So if lighting is an issue, you know, and you're worrying about having enough light, you can check it out there first before you put it up to your eye. It has other functions. I'm not going to go through all of them, but one of the interesting ones is you can do like 3 exposures under and overexposing. You can also compensate for exposures going up or down, and so yeah, this is really a nice camera. As a matter of fact, 167 MT, I don't think it's really much appreciated, so if you get a good copy of this, it's still around 200-250 range with the lens. The lens by itself about 180. I think if you want a planar, that's about the cheapest planar you can get, the 1.7. That's still going to give you some amazing pictures. There is a 1.4 that actually goes for a lot more money. It's heavier built, so it has its benefits. However, I don't think that you're really going to get much of a better picture with it. As a matter of fact, the reviews I read, they say that this and the other one are about the same. So yeah, definitely I would recommend this one as well. And the one I've been loving lately is the iconic Nikon F3. One thing about this camera is that, in my opinion, and I've had a Leica M3, this comes the closest in terms of feel to a Leica M3. Leica M3 is all built out of metal, brass, long-lasting components, and it feels solid. And F3 has that same feel for me. It's not quite a Leica, but then again, you can get this set up for $250 to $300, whereas Leica is going to cost you $2,000. The F3, the reason why I love this camera is, first of all, I think it looks great. You need to like your camera in order to take good pictures with it, because you don't want to fight with it, and looks are a little part of it as well. So if you like how it looks and you want to go shoot with it, your chances are you're actually going to take it out more often, take more pictures, take better pictures. This was a professional grade camera. F3 was Nikon's professional grade is F, so F came out first, then F2, then F3 after that. What I like about it is at the end of the day it's simple. It has everything that I need and nothing that I don't. Meaning you can set it into aperture priority mode and you spin your little aperture ring and you get it where you want it to be. You fire off the shutter and that's it. This one is louder, so not great for necessarily street work. However, the smoothness of how the whole thing operates, from winding the lens forward to the what I think is a delicious sound of the shutter when it comes down, is really, really cool. I'm not going to go through all the features of this camera, honestly. Probably going to do another video on that. But another thing that may be worth mentioning is that these prisms on top are replaceable or removable. So you can actually have a waist level viewfinder. You can have some different viewfinders that have like a high point is one of the other ones that's very popular. I don't have it on this one. That kind of gives you a little bit more eye relief, so you can wear glasses where you're shooting with it. Honestly, I actually like the smaller one better because, in my opinion, it almost makes no difference when you look through it, but this is much less bulky and it costs less, so you get several benefits from it. So the reason why I go shooting with this one is because it just honestly feels great. It feels like I have everything that I want. It feels like I have control over the creative process, and I have been taking some really good pictures with it, and hope to do more in the future. However, I do struggle sometimes with the fact that this little guy can almost deliver you the same image quality on film like this. So size-wise, sometimes taking this makes a lot more sense than taking that. Okay, so that's basically my little rant for the 3 cameras that I like. You can tell me why you like or don't like these, or what some of your favorite ones are. And thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.